Has this ever happened to you? You're giving a talk, you think it's going great, and you look around at the audience and you see some of the audience members look puzzled, and some of the other ones seem bored. Oh no, not what you had in mind. Or how about this? You listened to someone else give a speech and it was an interesting speech, you liked it, but an hour later, you can't remember what they were talking about. Oh, this is not the way we want things to go, folks. If the audience can't follow your talk, it's up to you to fix it. If they don't get it, we have to fix it. There's two aspects to giving a speech. First is your message, the content, what it is you want to say. The second is how you deliver it, how you actually present that material. Now, delivery is very, very important. But if you don't have a message organized in a way that your audience can follow you, it's just not going to matter how you say those words, is it? So tonight I'm going to give you a couple of tips on how you can better write a speech. This is going to help you better present the speech, to write it, and also it's going to let your audience better understand it. Let's start out. Three things. First idea, decide what the purpose of the speech is. Now, I don't mean the purpose in general, like entertain or educate or train. No, I mean the specific purpose. What do you want your audience to do or think or feel after your talk? Perhaps you want your audience to support a certain charity. Perhaps you want to persuade them to help out a certain political cause. Maybe you want to inform them in such a way that they'll go home and check the batteries in their smoke detector that night. Whatever the purpose is, make it specific and write it down. Okay, now we've got the purpose of our speech. You can start writing the speech. What part shall we write first? Let's write the conclusion. The conclusion, that's the last thing we're going to say. Yes, the reason we're going to write the conclusion first is because, remember, that's the part of the speech where you remind the audience what your key points were, what your reason was for delivering it, what you want them to remember about the talk. Write down that conclusion. In fact, you may decide that having written it, you want to go back and adjust your purpose a little bit. That's okay. Now we've got the conclusion. Let's go ahead and write the speech. Leave the opening aside for the moment, and let's write the main points. Let's say you've got 3 points you want to cover in a short speech. For each one of those points, you're going to state what your point is or your message, and then you're going to give backup material. That backup material may be additional description. It may be an example. It may be a story that illustrates your point. Whatever it is, you've got your key point that you stated clearly, and then the backup material that makes it work. And don't forget, as you write each of these points, you want to create a transition from one point to the other so that the audience can follow you. So we've written our purpose, we wrote the conclusion, we created all the main points. Now, finally, let's write the opening. Why did we wait to write the opening to the end? Because we now know the content of the speech entirely, and we know exactly what that opening has to say to introduce the material. So there you have it, a very simple technique. Let's review it. First, come up with a purpose, the specific purpose. What do you want the audience to do, think, or feel about your speech? Once you've done that, you can then write down the key things you want them to remember about having you giving it. Once you've done that, then you can actually write the main points and finally wind up with the opening. So what have we done here? Essentially, we've written that speech backwards, haven't we? The benefit to doing that way is, first, it's easier to write. You take small, simple steps where you first figure out what you want to do before you try to write the speech about it. So we write the purpose. Then we write the conclusion that matches the purpose. Then we write the key points of the speech that are going to lead to that conclusion. And finally, we write the opening where we're going to introduce all this material to our audience. If you use this method, I promise you two things. One, you're going to find it a lot easier to construct a speech. Two, you're going to find that your audiences follow you better. They understand your points better because they're so well structured. And guess what? They are going to consider you to be a better speaker.